Hi, in this video, it's photo critique time, and I've also hit 1 million views. Hi, I'm Adam, and welcome to First Man Photography, the channel that will help you take your photography to the next level. If you haven't done so yet, please do subscribe to the channel. There's new videos going up every Wednesday and every Sunday. If you just hit the button down there, you won't miss a beat. Okay, let's get into this. Okay, so firstly, I just wanted to say a big thank you for helping me reach 1 million views. I really do. It's amazing. I can't believe people have watched my videos a million times. It really is incredible. It means a lot, and I appreciate every single one of you that's ever watched a video. So just a big thank you. I'm not doing anything massively special for it, but I just wanted to mark the occasion very briefly. So it's a photo critique. On this video, I've been contacted by Peter Starchevich. I hope I've said your name right, Peter. Forgive me if not. But he's contacted me saying he's been shooting for a little while now and he just wanted to get an idea of where he stands with his work. So without further ado, we'll get into the computer and have a look at what Peter's producing. Okay, so here is the first image and it's a picture of Amsterdam. What gear is Peter using? He's got a Canon EOS 600D with an 18 to 35 millimeters. Is that probably the Sigma? That's a pretty nice lens and a half decent camera. So let's go full screen and we'll have a look at this image. Just make sure I've got the brightness up there. And it's not an amazing image, I'll be honest, right at the start. It feels a little bit like a snapshot. There doesn't feel to be much thought gone into the composition because it just looks like he's walked across the bridge, snapped the shot, and there's not much thought given to the composition. And I think Peter may have realised this because he's obviously felt the need to really go to town in processing the sky. And to me, that sky just feels a little bit over-processed, and possibly Peter's just making up for the slight lack of interest in the picture as a whole. It's a good scene, there's no doubt about it, but I think just it could be composed a little bit better just to add some interest. Maybe just even get into the middle of the bridge and the natural curve of the street there will work for you, and you'll get these boats in the right hand side of the picture going up into the middle of the image a little bit rather than just sticking along the right hand side here. But as it is, let's just move on to the next one and let's have a look at what he says about this one. A man smoking his cigarette. Man of the shadow. Okay, very dramatic shot. I like the lighting a lot. I love the way the light is picking up on the other side of the chap here. You can see some of the detail in his hair, his eyebrows, his eyelashes, and then his beard and his moustache. And that light has put him into silhouette, but lighting up the smoke here. And I really like that. It's a nice moment. It's telling a really nice story, which I like. The only thing I would say, though, is for me, it's just in a little bit tight on him. I'd like to see the image pulled back a bit, zoom out, step back, whatever you need to do, just to get a look, because the cutting off of the hand here is bothering me a little bit. The smoke's cut off here as well. And I'm happy with his head, but I'd just like to see the image moved out a little bit so we can get a bit more of that scene. And then you've just got these things here that aren't being cut off. But it's still a nice shot. Let's move on to the next one. And what are we saying here? Sometimes we all burn out. So we've got this sort of abstract macro type image, which is very striking. I apologise for that pun. So it is let's have a look at the settings he's used for this. It looks a little bit noisy. ISO 1600 and 1/1000th of a second. So maybe he's needed to shoot at 1/1000th of a second to freeze the strike of the match here. To get the type of image he wanted, which is why he may need the ISO 1600. So no, not too critical for that, and it doesn't really matter that much, I don't think, in the overall image. But I do like it. I like the detail in the striking of the match here, and you've already got these ones burning quite normally. I like as well the smoke in the background looks great as well, lit up here, and then you've got the light from this flame here lighting up these remaining match heads, which is also interesting. It's a nice, interesting image. Again, though, I would just like to see it pulled back a little bit. I think it's too tight in. What I would have done is have these match heads a little bit higher up in the image, across the rule of thirds, somewhere around here. And what that would mean is that you'd have to probably do more matches to make it work, but because you'd be zooming out and or moving backwards, so you'd have a wider image, so you'd probably have to do more matches, but I think it would work better and the composition would work slightly better. That's just me. You may disagree, but that's how I feel about that one. Still, overall, a good image. Let's move on. And we have walking away towards the unknown. And it's nice. I like this image. It's a little bit, there's some filter effects or processing gone on here in the sky, which makes it look slightly unnatural, but the abstract nature of the image, I think, works well for that. So I'm quite happy with the processing on this one. It looks good. It's telling a really nice story with the girl here walking away. But I would, and it's a good shot. I do like it, but I would improve it, or it could be improved, I think, just by adjusting this composition slightly. I'd like to see the girl a little bit bigger in the image because the story is about her, isn't it? So I'd like to see her a little bit bigger in the image. Not massive, because I like the perspective of the road, but this bit at the front of the image here, in front of this line, so this area here, isn't really doing anything for the image whatsoever. So I would probably stepped a bit closer to this painted line in the centre of the road, got down a little bit lower as well, just so the girl comes more above the horizon of these mountains in the background. So she is sort of detailed in or stands out against that sky in the background. And that would really emphasize the fact that she is out there on her own walking away. I think that would have worked better. It's still a nice image though. So that is being quite critical. But that's what I think you could have done to improve that image, Pete. But still, nice. I like it. Let's move on. Is this the same girl? We don't know. But it is a nice portrait image on the whole. And what I love about this one is the use of depth of field with some of these reeds and grasses in the foreground, sort of blocking parts of her and the guitar. I really like that. A lovely setting. And then it's blurring out into the background. It looks like we're pretty sharp in all the right places on her face as well. So that's a well executed shot. Again, I'd just like to see the composition slightly different because she's looking out of the image here, which there's nothing wrong with that, but I feel that when people look out of the image, I prefer them to be looking more into the image, if you know what I mean. So if her eyes are looking out that way, I'd prefer her head to be here. So I think the image could have been improved just by asking her to look this way, so her eyes are facing into the image. But that, again, I'm being quite critical because the light is really nice on this side of her face. So Peter might have wanted to have been capturing that. So to deal with that, I would say zoom out a little bit or move back, get her slightly more in the image and move your composition over to the left so she is looking into the frame. I hope I've explained that properly, but I just like to see when your eyes are looking like that, I want them looking into the frame because it just feels a little bit more natural for the composition. But beautiful setting, well set up, good use of the light. So there's lots and lots of positives in there, much more so than I'm talking about with the composition. So nice shot. I like it. Let's move on. And we have here is that Peter himself? Who knows? Everything is possible. Shoot for the stars. And I like images like this. The sort of astrophotography with the person in it. I do like it. There's not a great deal to say about it. He's obviously in a sort of well lit up area because you get this sort of yellow haze at the bottom as you go into the Milky Way there in the sky. So it's well executed, decent shot. I like the silhouette there, good shape, arms up towards the Milky Way. Good shot. There's not too much to say about it. So let's move on to the next one. Good fun though. I love those shots. And is this Prague? Let's have a look. Yeah, Prague. And that is a view of Karlsbridge and Prague's Parliament buildings and the fortress. So again, a little bit similar to that first shot in Amsterdam. This feels a bit like a snapshot, and that for me, there isn't a great deal going on. I think you could have composed it a little bit better so we can see more of the bridge, step away to the right, more over here and shoot a little bit more of the bridge. That boat just sort of half going under the bridge, I don't think adds to the image particularly either. And that's not my favourite one. So I think it could have been composed a little bit better. Again, feels like a snapshot. So let's just move on. And here we have a nice little street. Where are we now? We're back in Holland. And it's just a nice shot of a little street telling the story of the town. It's a beautiful little street, isn't it? There's some really interesting bricks, are they, on the ground there, with some moss and weeds growing out of them. Looks really good. And again, I kind of compose just a little bit different. Lower the camera close to the ground. Get some more of these bricks right in your foreground. Just come back a little bit so we're not cutting off quite as much of this bike. Because that's an interesting little bike, isn't it? It looks good. I think if we could have had a little bit more of that in the image, it would have worked. But interesting street, good eye. I'm glad you've taken this shot because it's telling me a lot about the place that you're in here. So I do like it. The story's there. Just a few composition tweaks I think could have taken that image to the next level. But it's well executed. There's good saturation in there. I like that. But let's move on to the next one. Okay, and this looks like Venice. Let's have a look. Yep, sunset in Venice, Italy. It was his first day. It started off cloudy and then it had a moment of sunset beauty like this. And I quite like this. It's verging, I think, again, on a snapshot. But I do like it because we've got these sort of docks here, or the little places where the gondolas are parked, sort of leading you into the image. You've got the buildings on the other side of the water here leading you this way, all in to that sunset, which it's all about. I love the reflections of that colour in the water here, and the sky looks great. That little touch of sun right in the corner there. You've got some of the lights starting to come on the buildings here and at the other side. Lots going on in that image. Really interesting, and I like it. Just slight criticism is I think we've gone a little bit high on the shadows on this part of the building here. And it just starting to look a bit unrealistic. It has that HDR type feeling, which I don't particularly like. And I think that's the only criticism in that image. So turn those shadows down just a touch, not too much, because if you see, this one is sort of, the shadows are quite high, whereas on this building, it doesn't look like he's touched it as much. So it isn't quite working for that for me, but easily solved. So let's move on to the next one. Now, I think this is our final image, and it's another landscape with another really, really interesting sunset. And here, I think the composition is really nice because it's where are we? Doesn't say, but it's not a particularly interesting landscape. There isn't any mountains. There isn't any significant features. So what Peter's done here is really nice and use this interestingly shaped, really nicely shaped tree as a silhouette to provide some interest for that image, because on its own, a sunset sky is not going to be massively interesting, especially in a flat landscape like this. So you need to add some composition things in there, like this tree or mountains or a building like we had in that Venice shot in the last one. So you need to add some other interest in there other than just the beautiful sky. So I think that's what Peter's done well in that last shot and in this shot. So really good work. I just question, is that the sun there? Because if the sun's at that height, I think it feels just a little bit unlikely that you'd get this amount of colour at that time of the day. But I'm not sure. I don't know how much he's processed that, but that just, if that's the sun, I'm not sure about that one. But still, anyway, even if that is the case, it's a decent image. But that's just one little thought I had about this little spot here. So let's have a look at the gallery as a whole. How do I do that? There we go. Nice set of shots. I think Peter's on a really good track there. I particularly like the work he's doing, the difference of work he's doing, because we've got landscapes, we've got these portraits here, which are really good. Just a couple of little tweaks. Zoom out a little bit, like I said. You've got the macro abstract work here. A nice array of images showing some real skill. And there's also some areas for improvement, like we've discussed. So, nice set of images. Good work, Peter. I'm glad you're shooting. I think you're on the right track. Keep it up, and I will be giving you a follow and keeping track of your work. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that. Like I said at the start, please do subscribe to the channel for new videos every Sunday and every Wednesday. And I'll hopefully see you on another one very soon. Again, thanks for 1 million views. It means the world to me. I'm Adam. This is First Man Photography out. Just look at that view at the top of Skiddaw Mountain in the Lake District.